Finished training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
This episode is presented by Tully, the perfect tool for high school and Division III programs. Tully helps coaches track player readiness, performance, and development all in one simple platform. Instead of guessing where your athletes stand, you'll know who's ready, who needs attention, and how your team is trending week to week. With Tully, you get the confidence that your players will stay strong and prepared deep into the season without adding more work to your staff. Learn more today at tully.app or click the link in the show notes.
I just like to say less is more. We may have repped something 2 or 3 times previously, and now we're getting 12 to 15 reps of that same particular play each week in practice, which makes a huge difference. It's still about repping that play over and over, and those guys being comfortable with what we're doing and playing fast.
Well, we have, our muddle huddle rules of when they displace offensive linemen, depending on how many guys are where. It's a count system of they got 3 offensive linemen out here. Well, we need 2 defensive linemen to go out there to cover down those guys, like that type of thing.
Rule number 5 for us is get to know your teammates, and that can engulf a lot of things. That's our job as college coaches, is build them into a man through their motivation, which is football. We do all the same stuff. We have big brother, little brother, which I think is huge. It gives people the opportunity to lead and follow.
Welcome to the Hansen Ratings D3 Coach and Coordinators of the Week, presented by Tully, the performance and accountability app created by former Harvard football players to help coaches and teams stay connected and locked in all season long. Each week, we recognize the coordinators and head coaches who led standout performances across Division III football. These are the coaches whose game plans, preparation, and execution make the difference. Logan, before we get into our winners, what did you think about this past weekend's games?
There were some great games this weekend, a lot of games on the top half of conferences and a lot of games between highly ranked teams. And we thought we knew some things about teams, and we learned something different on Saturday. And I'm really looking forward to talking about some of the coaches that had some great performances this week.
Well, let's get started with our offensive coordinator of the week. Logan, who was our honoree?
This week, that goes to Russ Phillips of Hendrix, whose squad beat Austin College 60-21 on Saturday. If you don't know, Hendrix runs a pretty up-tempo offense. They ran 98 total plays on Saturday, and they amassed nearly 650 total yards. One of the craziest things about this game is the starting quarterback, Jacob Bunniff, threw for 380 yards, and he did it in only 2.5 quarters of play. This wasn't the case of a team running up the score. The starters were out on offense before the fourth quarter started in this one. And they had a really great performance on really clutch downs, too. 3rd and 4th downs, they were 74% on their conversion rate. And in the first half, they went 5 for 5, a perfect 5 for 5 on scoring touchdowns whenever they got into the red zone. So, they really kept control of the game on offense with their tempo and being efficient, but then also winning in high leverage situations on 3rd and 4th down and in the red zone.
I sat down with Coach Phillips and had a great conversation with him. We start on the offensive side of the ball, where Hendrix College put up a massive 60 points against Austin this past week. Offense coordinator Russ Phillips had his group rolling, over 600 yards of offense and a balanced attack. Russ, we appreciate your time. Congratulations on a great win, and we look forward to hearing from you and give you an opportunity to recognize your staff.
Yeah, and first, I would like to thank you and Keith, on reaching out to us and giving our college and our athletes props for the hard work and commitment that they put in. And, our head coach, Buck Buchanan, our athletic director, Amy Weaver, our president, Dr. Peterson. We have outstanding support here that allows us to do our job the way that it needs to be done. We've never been told no when we need something. And that's the kind of place you want to be at, and you have a chance to be successful. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. This is my 31st year of coaching. I spent my first 23. I'm a Dallas-Fort Worth guy. I coached 23 years at the Texas high school football level at places like South Lake Carroll, which is a very well-known place, Denton Guyer, Louisville. I never thought I'd do anything else. Coach Buck recruited my son out of South Lake Carroll as a wide receiver to come here and play. And essentially, he recruited the whole family about a month later. And we've been here for 8 years, and we absolutely love what we're doing now. So that's kind of how that happened. But I'll say this, it's all about family for us and building relationships. 5 of my offensive staff members, 3 of those 5, I coached here, and they played for us here at Hendrix. My wide receiver coach, Mason Dorr, he was the quarterback here at Hendrix. He does a phenomenal job. My offensive line coach, Keith Taylor, he played for us here, and I coached him as well. Does a great job. My tight end coach, Deuce Carter, he played for us here and does a great job with our tight ends. And then my running back coach, Doug Peterson, we recruited his son out of Mississippi about 4 or 5 years ago, and we built that relationship. And then he's retired police force. He wanted to coach college football. So through that relationship we had 5 or 6 years ago, we were able to hire him, and he's done a phenomenal job for us with our running backs. And then Malcolm Olvera, who is our assistant wide receiver coach, he actually played with Coach Buchanan at Austin College, the team that we just played. So again, it's about relationships and trust. In this business, it's about trust and relationships, and you've got to have that to be successful. So that's a little bit about my staff. Like I said, and even on the defensive side, 2 of those guys played for us as well here at Hendrix. So when those guys stay around, it's important to those guys. It's important for this place to be successful and do everything we can to give our guys the best chance to win.
Yeah, Russ, whenever you grow your own, that makes a difference in a program, and keeping them around, I think, makes a huge difference.
Yes, sir.
So kudos to you guys for being able to do that. So as you know, as part of the format is we ask that you share a little bit to our listeners. And you mentioned revamping, simplifying, less is more, and something about your roster. So please share with our listeners some of your thoughts on those topics.
I'll start with what I call less is more, and I think this will be beneficial to some young coaches. And even I'm about to turn 53 years old, so sometimes you have to take a look in the mirror at yourself, even though you've been doing this job a long time, and you have to make changes to make everyone better around you. After our 3rd game of the season this year, we were 1-2, beat a good team in Huntington, lost to a really good Maryville team, lost to Millsaps, who's definitely better than they have been in the past, 4 or 5 years. And we just weren't producing the kind of points. We weren't running. We were averaging about 65 plays a game, which is not what we do here. So I sat down over that weekend after that 3rd game, that loss, and I said, you know what? What we're doing is not working. I fell into a trap of we have really smart guys here. Our players are intelligent. So sometimes you feel like you can just put so much offense in because we can handle it, right? We're smart. We can go out and teach it one time. We're going to line up right. We're going to do it right for the most part, and we're going to roll on. But what that does is it reduces your reps that you get on those plays in practice. And I sat down and took a deep look at myself, and I said, you know what? Something has to change. So I came in on that Monday morning with my offensive staff. I said, we'll meet at 9:30. And just to give you kind of an insight on what my call sheet looked like in that 3rd game of the season, I took 4 sheets up with me full of jargon, I'll call it, okay? And sometimes I couldn't even find what I was looking for, in a particular section. So I went from those 4 sheets to basically a half a sheet of paper in these last 2 games, and we've put up 1,184 yards and 107 points in the last 2 games that we've played. So you can take away what you want from it, but I just like to say less is more. We may have repped something 2 or 3 times previously, and now we're getting, 12 to 15 reps of that same particular play each week in practice, which makes a huge difference. Even if you have smart guys, it's still about repping that play over and over and over, and those guys being comfortable with what we're doing and playing fast. Let me go back to the 60 plays a game. We always called ourselves a tempo team, and really we weren't playing with tempo. I mean, I look back and we were playing slow. But the last 2 games, our goal was to hit 80 against Rhodes 3 weeks ago, and we hit 79. And then we had a bye week. And then this week, our goal was still that 80 number, and we hit 98. And I've never done that. In my 7 years of calling offense here, we've never run 98 plays in a game at a 6.6 yard average. It works for us. And, that'll be the plan moving forward. It's about us being good at what we're doing. And, the tempo forces people to line up a lot more and not be able to bring people, and do all the blitz and stunts and the perimeter stuff and different coverages. And they have to play a little more bass, a little more sound. And we know where we're going with the ball, and we've got great players. Let me talk about that, because I talked about the coaches, but when I was a young coach, I thought it was all about coaching, right? We're the greatest thing ever. We're winning state championships at Denton Geyer and Louisville and South Lake Carroll, winning 14, 15 games a year. But let's be honest, you're only as good as those guys you have on the field. And we've done a great job here recruiting players. We're the only Division III. Well, now Lyon College is also Division III, so we have two. But forever, we were the only one here in Arkansas. There are no Division IIIs in Oklahoma. Texas obviously is Division III heavy somewhat, and that's where a lot of our recruiting base comes from, and me being from that area. But I just feel like our staff has done a phenomenal job on identifying the Hendrix kid, the type of kid that we need here to be successful on the academic side of the street and the athletic side of the street. And that's the balance that has to take place here for it to be successful.
No doubt. You mentioned that you increased your roster. Because of the size roster now, your practices are different. Talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, so when I first got here in 2018, our roster, we were holding usually about 82 to 84 guys on a roster. And then last year was our largest roster at 107. And we were like, that's a big number, but we're going to try to push the envelope because, let's be honest, competition makes everyone better, right? And guys get comfortable on the field. Guys get comfortable as coaches. At South Lake Carroll, I'll just say that it was the most uncomfortable place I had ever worked because of the expectation. But you know what? I learned more from that place, and I became a better coach because of those 3 years that I was there, because I was uncomfortable every day when I went out onto the football field. And I think that's important. And our guys, it's about competition. We brought some freshmen in. We have 5 freshmen on the field Saturday at any given time at the same time, and those dudes are playing their tail off. So it's college football. The best guys play, and that's what I always tell them. My job's to recruit the best player. Your job's to not get your job taken, and that's the best way I know how to put it. But with that roster size, we brought in a class of about 83 freshmen, which the largest we had was around 47 to 48 previously in a class. So it took us from 107 to 153 when we started the season. And we've only lost, I think, 3 guys we counted yesterday off of that roster, which is unbelievable. And what it's done, we were having to go good on good, 1-on-2, slow practices, keep everybody healthy. And now we're able to split up, on both sides. We only have one practice surface. So we're on one end, defense is on one end, and we're hitting it and getting it on our end because we're playing as fast as we can. And we'll get 30 plays in a 10-minute team period, which is phenomenal. And we break that up into 2 different periods. So we're running 60. That's 60 plays a day on the ground. And then we got another 26 7-on-7 plays that we get in a 12-minute span. So the quality of work is exponentially better than what it was before.
No doubt. We always felt at BW that roster size was critical for practice purposes. And as you said, competition. Competition hopefully brings the best out of everybody. And
Yes,
when
sir.
you got to compete every day for a job, boy, you come to practice with a little different mindset, don't you, Russ?
You're right. There's no doubt about it. And that's what it's done. Guys know. They can look at that dude behind them and say, hey, I don't get my stuff together, somebody's going to be playing, and they don't want that. So like you said, it makes everybody better. Obviously, it makes us better as coaches when we have those guys competing hard on the field in practice, and it makes us play harder on game day too. The expectation is always to play hard here until the whistle blows. But again, when you've got that guy behind you that's going to go hard no matter what, if he's the backup, then you better get your job done.
Well, love your ideas, revamp and simplify. Love your idea of less is more. And we wish you the best of luck the rest of the way, Russ. We'll be watching the rest of your season. We look forward to you having continued success.
I appreciate it. And I want to thank you guys so much for recognizing us, and truly is a team effort and a family effort here. And if I've said anything in this interview, I hope that hit home that it's definitely not what this guy's doing right here. It's what the people around me are doing, because I'm only as good as they are. But I appreciate you guys.
Coaches, we all know the struggle with keeping players at their best over the course of a long season. You're trying to track readiness, monitor performance, and manage development, but most of the time it's scattered between paper check-ins, text messages, or spreadsheets that take hours to manage. That's where Tully comes in. Tully brings everything into one simple platform designed for high school and Division III programs. With quick athlete check-ins, you get real-time insight into player readiness, workload, and performance trends. That means fewer surprises, healthier players, and better decisions on practice and game day. If you want your team stronger, more durable, and more confident late in the season than they were in Week 1, Tully is the tool you need. Learn more at tully.app or click the link in the show notes.
That takes us to the defensive side of the ball, Logan. Who turned in the top performance on defense this past week?
This week, that goes to Joel Elliott of Barry, whose Vikings took down Trinity of Texas 29-6. They held Trinity below 250 yards of total offense and only 4 yards per play. Coming into the game, Trinity was one of the best offenses in the country. They'd been averaging 439 yards per game and 6.4 yards per play. So well under their season averages in this game. Barry did not allow a single rush of 10 yards for the entire game. The longest rush of the game for Trinity was 9 yards. They only managed 30 total rushing yards in the game. And it wasn't just preventing the big plays. They also had 9 tackles for a loss and 4 sacks. So they were in Trinity's backfield, and they only allowed 3 completions of over 12 yards. If you look at Trinity's quarterback's completion percentage, you'll think, oh, wow, that's pretty good. But then when you start looking at the actual stats, there's a lot of completions for 0, 1, 2, or 3 yards on the game. Barry's defense, I've talked about the boa constrictor defense that doesn't let any big plays happen, and I've also talked about the wild dogs defense that is creating havoc, and Barry did both on Saturday. Great performance from the Vikings, and congrats to Coach Elliott.
Purina believes no one should have to make the impossible choice between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
Joel, congratulations on a great win. And that defense obviously did a great job in this past week's game. And we look forward to hearing from you and recognizing your staff.
Appreciate it. And yeah, definitely more than just the defense. Great team win, and special teams did a good job. Our kickoff team was great, and we got them starting inside the 25 on all of our kickoffs, and doing a great job of playing the field position game and forcing punts to set up some short fields for our offense. And then we talk a lot about playing team football here, complementary football, and our offensive coordinator, John Sikora, John does a really good job. And we started out the second half with a 6-minute and 3-second drive. We played 6 snaps of defense in the third quarter. We just bled the clock with our offense, and it's really easy to play good defense when our guys are sitting on the sideline drinking Gatorade. So just a great team win all around, and a lot of credit to our guys too. We did some different stuff with them, and just taking the coaching all week and putting a good week of prep in and coming out and just playing with relentless effort. Just overall great team win, and just really proud of our guys and how they bought in and went out and performed on Saturday.
We're happy for you guys. As you know, we give a little coaching tip as part of this that you can share with your listeners. You mentioned something about self-scout and breaking tendencies. How about you share that with our listeners?
Yeah, so, it's always, something we're always trying to keep up with on both offense and defense here is self-scout of okay, hey, what am I calling in all these situations? Hey, for example, if it's second and long, am I playing a ton of coverage stuff on second and long, right? Well, I got to figure that out at some point, because if an offense is doing a good job, they're going to try to run the ball. And if I'm playing cover 2 and I'm short in the box, then I can't be caught off guard when they hand it off on 2nd and 10 and they get us because we're short in the run fit. So it's just trying to do a really good job of, I'm trying to really stay on top of all right, middle field closed, middle field open. How much am I balancing these calls out and trying to stay as close to 50-50 as possible? And then also looking at it I know, and thankfully in our league at least, there's been a lot of carryover between the staffs in the league. We haven't had a ton of coordinator changes. So now being my 4th year at Barry, I kind of know what I'm going to get from these other coaches. So it's I try to use that to my advantage to set things up for later in the year. Hey, I want to put all this stuff on film, because I know what these guys do. I know what they've done to us in the past. I know how they think. And then I can use that tendency to break it later against them. So just trying to do a good job of being balanced in our calls, but then also intentionally setting things up so that we can use it against them and what teams have done to us in the past.
Have you seen, Joel, do you get a sense that there's offenses that are trying to do that for you as well, against you as well, meaning throwing in a formation or a play that they don't typically run just to force you to practice against it? Have you seen that from the offenses that you're playing?
Yes and no. I think it really just depends on the team, right? So there's kind of two schools of thought and we end up getting both in our league, is we will see teams like Trinity that we just played. They do a good job of. Trinity will set stuff up and then use it to break their tendencies against us, right? Other teams we play, they will not show anything, and then they'll come out with, we'll get like muddle huddle in the middle of the field, right? Just like stuff that, hey, we haven't practiced since fall camp. And it's like, hey, it's week 7. Like, our guys need to be on it and remember all this stuff. And of course, we're not practicing that during the week, especially when they don't put it on film. And so there's kind of like, two schools of thought, and we got good offensive coaches in our league, and we always end up getting a little bit of both, of where it's like, hey, we're setting this up and this personnel grouping and this play and this formation, and then we're going to come back and run something else to complement off of it. Or it's just like, hey, some teams I think feel like we're playing Barry. We got to do something, a little crazy, something a little different to catch them off guard. We end up with something completely new that we got to fix on the fly when we're out there.
And I don't want to get too deep or give away too much, Joel, but in that situation where some offense comes out with something that is, completely out of the ordinary, something that you were not prepared for at all, because we used to have a call that defensively we could go to that is kind of a base thing that would put us in a situation to handle any kind of crazy thing. Do you have that?
It depends how crazy it is, right? So like, for example, I used, how you get muddle huddle in the middle of the field. Well, we have, our muddle huddle rules of when they displace offensive linemen. All right, hey, depending on how many guys are where, it's a count system of like, all right, hey, they got, 3 offensive linemen out here. Well, we need 2 defensive linemen to go out there to cover down those guys, like that type of thing. But if it's something that's just like a normal formation or anything like that, like we just play the call. And, just from the standpoint of like, for the most part, we play a lot of our stuff. We have very few checks, and I don't ever want to get locked into something. So, I know some teams will do it like, hey, this is our FIB check, right? This is our trips check. This is our 2x2 check, whatever it is. It's like, I don't want to do that. Like, our defense is built to where it's like, whatever the call is, we're just going to play it. And, our guys know what their rules are based off, hey, is 2 attached, is 2 removed, is 3 attached, is 3 removed. Because I don't want the offense to ever be able to dictate to us of where it's like, hey, we line up in this formation, we know exactly what we're going to get. So I don't want the offense to ever dictate that to us. And we try to do a really good job with our disguise of playing, too high and doing everything to react post-snap and try to make it all look the same pre-snap so that we're making them react to us instead of just getting locked into certain calls. And that's when offenses can get really explosive plays like, hey, I know they're going to be in quarters when we line up like this. Like, let's get our quarters beaters out of this. It's like, I don't want to live in that world. It's not very fun. So try to make it all look the same and dictate the terms.
Kind of a chess game out there, isn't it, Joel? They try to take advantage of you, and you're trying to make sure that they don't take advantage of you. That's the beauty of football, the strategy, and that's the awesome part of it. Great insight. Really appreciate you sharing. Good luck the rest of the season, and we appreciate your time.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
We finish up honoring the best total team effort and the head coach and staff of the week. Logan, who do you have for us as our head coach?
This week, that honor goes to Clayt Birmingham of UW-Stout. UW-Stout beat UW-Oshkosh on Saturday 27-16, and they did that with a great second half performance. They were down 16-0 early in the third quarter, and from that point on, they scored 27 unanswered points, and they outgained Oshkosh 301 yards to 114 during that 27-0 run. Their offense at the end of the game averaged 12 yards per play once they got rolling, and they scored 4 straight touchdowns to take the lead. And their defense did a great job to help with that comeback too. They didn't manage any turnovers, but they forced a 3-and-out on 3 of 5 UW-Oshkosh drives in the second half. And then looking at the total game performance, the defense held UWO to 1.9 yards per rush. They had 6 sacks and 12 total TFLs. We talked about Barry having a great job playing in the backfield defensively, and Stout did just as well or better against another outstanding top 25 opponent. And then Stout's offense prevented that from happening. They only allowed 1 sack on the game, and then they had some receivers make some big plays too. They had 4 different receivers total who had 30-yard or more receptions on the game. So great comeback from Stout in a league that is giving us a lot of really exciting, really close games against a lot of highly ranked teams. Really looking forward to see what happens in the WIAC moving forward. And congrats to Coach Birmingham and his staff on earning our Coach of the Week.
Finally, we head to the WIAC, where Coach Clayt Birmingham and Wisconsin-Stout earned a hard-fought victory over Wisconsin-Oshkosh this past weekend. Coach, congratulations on a great win. Congratulations on where you've brought that program. And we appreciate your time and just want to give you an opportunity to congratulate your staff, and then we'll talk about sharing some thoughts.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Quite an honor. We're very, very thrilled. So got to give a shout out to our coaches, right? Doing a phenomenal job. One thing, when we look at coaching and hiring coaches is the longevity of, the consistency, the maturity, just like you're trying to recruit players. I think that goes with the coaching staff as well. And I think we've done a pretty good job of keeping guys around, keeping them happy. But we've started with our defense coordinator, Travis Destash. Thought he did an amazing job on Saturday. He's been with me for 19 years. So I've been here 19, and he started out as my graduate assistant and just kept elevating his game as he went. So very, very smart coordinator. Jake Schiff is our D-line coach. He's been with me for 10 years. Played here for 4 years, so actually 14 with me. And then we have Coach Thomas. Coach T has been here forever. Well, he's retired now, but he'll never stop it. He's been with us for 34 years. I'm here at Stout. And then we have our new athletic director, now doing that step down, Erin Sullivan. We have her husband, Jeff Sullivan, has been with us for 10 years. So pretty solid defensive side, pretty consistent. And that's how you win with guys that you don't have to keep retraining. You got good consistency here. So offensive side, we're trying to get the consistency up there, but we have our offense coordinator, Nick Peshek, back with his second stint with us. So this is his 4 years with me now. Coach Branch, Derek Branch, actually is an alumnus of Stout as well. Played here for 2 years as a player and then has been coaching for 12 years with us. His wife's a principal, and I think that's key too. To keep a coaching staff around, you got to make sure the wife's happy, obviously, and that they have good jobs because we don't get paid a lot. And then we have Jed Stutzman does our running backs. His wife works in our building. He's actually a teacher. He's been with us for 12 years. And then we have a young buck, Kobe Berghammer, who was a stellar quarterback in this league at Oshkosh. Was an All-American for them. We kind of snagged him. He was a kind of a restricted earning guy last year and really did a nice job, so we elevated him into a full-time position. So this is his second year with us. And then lastly, we have Riley Kleist, kind of started off as a student assistant, and he has a full-time job now, but he's been with us for 4 years too. So a lot of consistency. I'm a big believer in just keeping guys around, keeping them happy, and let them do their thing.
Well, we appreciate that. And you're right. Continuity, Clayt, is huge to the success of a program. And it's great to hear that you've been able to keep your guys around. As you know, the format of our thing is to share an idea or thought with our listeners. You mentioned team culture and team building. How about you share a little bit of that with our listeners?
Yeah, I think I listened to a couple of podcasts here, and it seems like all the coordinators talk about X's and O's, and all the head coaches kind of what interests them is now is the longer you've been in this thing is how to recruit and retain and just keep people happy and how to get along and more building relationships. So I think it starts off with our rule number 5. We have 5 team rules, and rule number 5 for us is get to know your teammates. And that kind of engulfs a lot of things. Every program should be teaching building men, and they do, because that's our job as college coaches is build them into a man through their motivation, which is football. So, we do all the same stuff. We have big brother, little brother, which I think is huge. It gives people an opportunity to lead and follow. And we're really big in touching. I picked this up from a high school coach where we touch a lot, we slap hands, hugs, and anything we do with contact, because look at just relationships in general. And I always talk to recruits as you're dating a girl, and what do? You know what I mean? You take her out to eat. So right away is usually the first date is going to dinner. Well, we kind of transpire that into our program where we have dinner with the teammates. So every dinner in fall camp, you're eating with veteran with a rookie on the opposite side of the ball. We organize that. We used to have spreadsheets. Now we just kind of line it up after our walkthrough before we go to dinner. And as they walk off the field, they just grab a guy across from them and they take him to dinner. You break bread with them. You get to know them. You're just trying to find something unique about the other person. So I thought that's been good. And one thing, we do a lot of family traditions, we call them. It's just a lot of team building stuff. Throughout the week, we always have like Joke Wednesday. So comes from Dewey Nats, man. It's a good old boy. So after Wednesdays, we just get a good feeling in you. We tell a few jokes, a couple offense against a couple defense, and see who's got the best joke, and they're pretty bad nowadays. But at the end of practice on Thursdays, we coaches think up some dumb competitions, and they get to choose one guy from their position group, and we go, whether it's kicking a field goal or football bowling or football bocce or off in corner kick. We have a huge list of those things. We've been doing it for, ever since Dewey was here, 19, 20 years. And then you just have all your stuff in the off season, which I think is important, competing, softball tournaments, and do a draft with it to make it fun, and dodgeball and all that stuff. I mean, they're playing football to be with their buddies and have fun, so let's have fun with them. So other than that, I think one unique thing we do here, and I know a lot of coaches cringe at this, is our team banquet. We hold a banquet because I think it's pretty special. If a guy makes it 4 or 5 years in college football, that's a big deal. So our banquet is basically, we have all of our seniors sitting at the head table. I sit back, all the coaches sit back in the audience, and we have our seniors run the whole banquet. And we give them pieces. We have, one talks about academics or the thank yous. Then we pick 4 or 5 of them to give just a 5-minute speech about whatever they want to talk about, because that's really cool. I mean, it's interesting what they say and the stories they have. And some people are like, I don't know if I want that guy talking. But for us, we preach as building men to our parents a lot and to everybody. And this is our final product. I want to see the mature man up there speaking, and just how did he do in speech 101? It's kind of cool. And there's tear jerkers up there. There's people, it's so funny, and the parents love it. And they don't have to listen to a bunch of boring coaches about talking about whatever we have to talk about them. So, and as a coach, I like it because what does assistant coach talk about right away? What they need to work on, right? And my wife always says, God, that sounds so bad. You're supposed to be praising them, but we're trying to make them better. So that's just a couple things that we do team building wise. I think it's important too that we do a lot of stuff with our parents, and some people are scared of parents, where I love to talk to our parents, and I send out a weekly parent email. We have a team barbecue during camp where we practice, and then right after that, we bring in a guy to smoke meat all night, and we have a big kind of a potluck, and it's all the parents come, and that's their time to kind of get to know each other, and I make them involved. And after that, I will send out a parent contact list, and I tell them, hey, reach out to these people, reach out to these families, and because in order for you to have a positive time, you need to get to know other parents, because tailgating or after the game, kids are going to ditch you pretty quick to go with their friends, and the parents that have the most fun will hang out with their parents. So we have a fifth quarter after every game, win or lose. It's always at the same place. It's a big sports bar, and all the coaches go, parents will go, players will go, and we hang out with their parents. So I walk around and talk to all of them, and a lot of parents we never talk about playing time, but parents are mature enough nowadays too, when you set the tone in the beginning of the first meeting, that they don't even ask anymore about, their kids, how they're doing. They get it. They're mature men. We'll talk to them about their playing time and stuff, but just a few things that we do, I think, that are fun. I don't know if they're unique, but it's worked for us.
Clayt, I think that is absolutely awesome what you do with the banquet, the fifth quarter, the idea of, now when you talked about the Thursday competitions, did you say the coaches are doing the competitions, or you create them for the players to do?
We all do it. When I tell them the competition or after practice, say it's coffin corner kick or whatever, they get to choose one person from their position group. They can only do one competition a year. Coaches are involved. They have a team, and usually the coach has won for many years. And then even the training staff, our trainers have a team, so they get to do it too. So it's pretty fun. It's pretty comical. It's quick. It takes 10 minutes after practice, but it's just another way. And that's just Dewey Natz's idea. We just kept it going, the tradition. So we're a big tradition school, and we just keep them. And I ask our guys every year, like, you guys sure you want to tell jokes after practice on Wednesday? Are you sure you want to do this Thursday competition things? Because it's a lot of times the same competition, and they love it. Like, hell yeah, we got to do it, man. It's tradition. We love it. So I'm like, all right, if you like it, we'll keep going with it. But so it's been positive for us.
I love that. I love the Thursday competition thing. I think, again, the banquet thing, I've never heard of anybody doing that before, Clayt. I think that is just a great idea. And your idea of see how they've developed. And you're right. Parents don't want to listen to us as coaches. They'd rather hear the kids. And the kids would rather hear the kids.
Yeah, we get about 300 people at our banquet. I mean, it's known to be a pretty fun night. And we hold it off campus at one of our sponsors' place, a big bar. They have a whole banquet hall. So we hold it off campus. And you know what? Here's another thing too, which a lot of college coaches don't agree with or try to fuse it out, but there's alcohol at that banquet. There's alcohol at the fifth quarter. I think it's important nowadays more than ever to show these guys how to act with a beer in your hand. A lot of people are scared of that. They're like, oh, we can't drink where the players are. That's how I grew up, and that's how it used to always be. It's not saying we're never going to buy one. We're not going to sit around and talk to our players. If they're at the same bar, we'll say hi to them. But they need to see a person handling themselves positively with a drink in their hand, because we're from Wisconsin, right? I'm going to have a beer and a mixed drink or whatever. And you don't have to be an idiot. You can have a nice social time, but they need to see that. We need to preach it. And because we all know they're doing it, I think it's part that a lot of people turn a cold shoulder to or don't even acknowledge it, where we got to teach them.
Yeah, absolutely. The fifth quarter, Clayt, how many people do you think typically will show up for that after the game?
It's a packed house in there, and that's why we have this little deal with that venue. They give us some kickback too, and they feed our coaches every Tuesday night so we can sit in here and game plan till 9 o'clock at night. So we hold our banquet there too. So we bring business to them and they give us kickback as well, and it's a good give and take. But shoot, it's a humongous place. I mean, that place is packed, and you got to get there early. About half our team shows up because the other half is like, well, we have no place to sit and whatnot, but it's a fun environment.
Yeah, I'd say it'd have to be a pretty big place to handle all those people, and it's awesome that you have that set up with them. Clayt, that is great stuff. Really appreciate you sharing. We wish you the best of luck the rest of the season. I know your conference is an absolute grinder every single week. So look forward to seeing your games.
Yeah, thank you. We got a big one this week, so back at them. Never stops in this league, which is a fun league.
These coaches continue to prove the preparation, detail, and discipline separate the best from the rest.
Yep, and I say it every week, but there's 240 teams in the division. If you do what you need to do every single week, you can separate yourself, but there's also crazy things happening all over the division, and I really like digging into some of these stats and finding teams that might not recognize just because of the top 25 matchups and finding those coaching performances that really do elevate their team all across the country. So congrats to this week's honorees, and looking forward to more great games next week.
Logan, I love the information that you dig up. It's really impressive. And that wraps up this week's show. Thanks again, Logan.
Thanks, John.
Thank you for listening to Coaching Coordinator Network, Hansen Ratings D3 Coaching Coordinators of the Week show. We'll be back again next week with our week honorees. Be sure to check out our presenting sponsor, Tully.app. Go to their website and see all the things that they are doing. Definitely something that can help you as a coach, whether you're at the high school level or the D3 level, in managing your athletes and their development.